This conference will now be recorded.
Kalyan, shall I start the class? Is everybody here? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Okay, you are the only one who is corresponding, is it, and responding? Okay, we talked about instrumental vaginal delivery or otherwise called assisted vaginal delivery today. Okay, and in this, two instruments help us deliver the baby, which are forceps and ventouse. Forceps and ventouse, which help us deliver the fetal head, and this happens vaginally, wherein the instruments are used vaginally to help deliver the fetal head. Okay, and these days we're not seeing much of forceps and ventouse because cesarean section has become much. The indications for cesarean section have become more liberalized. Indications for cesarean section have become more liberalized, but then there is always in a gynecologist armamentarium. That means for a gynecologist should definitely be trained in forceps and vacuum because they help a lot. Okay, it is one of the valuable instruments to be having and to be using. Okay. See, I have some problem with these slides, but then I will be talking about these. Okay, why these instrumental vaginal deliveries, which are forceps and ventouse. Okay, you can see them, right? It is both an art and science. Okay, this is one thing which is very fascinating for me. This forceps deliveries and ventouse deliveries, they're very nice. Okay, when I was doing my DGO, we used to have a professor by name DK Shetty, Dr. DK Shetty. Okay, trained in UK, and he would talk a lot about forceps deliveries. Okay, those were the times when I really didn't know much about it, but then it's a real wonderful instrument to work with. Okay. Instruments, either forceps or ventouse, are used to help deliver the baby in the second stage of labor, so-called assisted vaginal deliveries. So the first picture shows you the forceps, and the second picture shows you the ventouse. Indications. First, you should know about these assisted vaginal deliveries, the usage of the forceps and ventouse. See, only the entire 1 hour class can be put into 3. You should know when to use them, when not to use them, and the correct technique of using them. That is, when to use, when not to use, how to use, and what are the likely problems, likely side effects that could occur, or likely problems that you could encounter, which can be avoided, or if they occur, whether you can treat them or not. Okay, the entire 1 hour class can be put just into 4 things: when to use these instruments, when not to use them, how to use them, the technique of using it, and what are the likely problems, and if the problems, can you avoid them, or if they occur, you should be able to treat them. As simple as that. Okay, what are the indications? So that is when to use them. In any condition threatening the mother or the fetus that is likely to be relieved by delivery, provided vaginal delivery can be accomplished safely. Okay, so you hasten the delivery, you are going to vaginally deliver. Okay, whenever a condition is threatening the mother or fetus, and which is likely to improve when you hasten the delivery by using these instruments safely. Okay, what are those maternal conditions? These indications can be divided into maternal and fetal. Okay, right? So some other conditions can be maternal and fetal. So what are those maternal conditions wherein you use these instruments? So the mother, whenever we say, okay, what is the duration of the second stage? What is the duration of the second stage? Okay, these definitions here, the last one which you see here, the prolonged second stage, is an older definition, but that is a definition for UGs. For PGs, it has been changed a little, which I'm not going to tell you. Okay, so prolonged second stage in a primary gravida, we call it as more than 3 hours with epidural analgesia, or more than 2 hours, the baby hasn't delivered, baby isn't born. Without epidural anesthesia, you can wait till 2 hours, provided the fetal heart rate is good. If it is a multi-gravida, Then 2 hours with epidural analgesia or 1 hour with regional anesthesia or epidural anesthesia, you expect the baby to be born. But if it is more than that time, the second stage, you call it prolonged second stage. You call it prolonged second stage. Okay, that is one of the indications, provided fetal heart is good for this time. Okay, so that is one of the indications, maternal and fetal indications to do a maternal and fetal indications to do a instrumental vaginal delivery. Second one, maternal exhaustion. Maternal exhaustion. Okay, she's tired, she cannot push. Okay, then the conditions that impair the ability to push, that is, she has some neurological problems and she has an impaired ability to push. Okay, in the second stage, or she has some cardiac problem, she has preeclampsia, and she has some lung compromise, which are likely to be worsened when she with her added expulsive efforts. That is, in the second stage of labor, not only the uterine contractions that are important, but the maternal pushing effort is also important. This pushing, if it is likely to worsen an already pre-existing maternal condition, then try to avoid this much of pushing, and you apply your instrumental vaginal delivery and help her deliver. Okay. What are the fetal conditions? What are the fetal conditions which will have? What are the fetal indications? Fetal indications would be any condition non-reassuring fetal heart rate pattern. Non-reassuring fetal heart rate pattern. That means, in other simple terms, I would tell you as fetal distress. Some problems with the fetal heart. Okay, and then cervix is fully dilated. Presenting patterns. Plus gestation, it is going to take a little more time. Okay. Okay, so fetal heart pattern. So you want to hasten the delivery of the baby for the baby's sake. Okay, so that is the fetal distress. Or cervix is fully dilated and then there is a umbilical cord prolapse. Okay, so there also you want to deliver the baby immediately. So these are some of the fetal indications for using these instrumental vaginal deliveries. So we know when you should use. Okay, then what are the when not to use? Contraindications. Contraindications would be operator inexperience. Operator inexperience. Actually, there'll be this forceps and forceps deliveries and all this. There's a hospital in Hyderabad, Fernandez Hospital. Okay, they conduct one-day classes for these. Just for this instrumental vaginal delivery, they conduct one Sunday, they conduct classes. And all over the state, Telangana, here, the doctors go and then they hands-on experience, they do have this. Okay, now that this is the COVID times, they have closed these classes. But I think in the next few months or next year, if they start, those of you interested or going to take gynec post-graduation could really go. The wonderful experience to go there. Okay, right? So, okay, what are the contraindications? Operator inexperience. Okay, and make sure the cervix is fully dilated. If the cervix is not fully dilated, you cannot apply an instrument. Okay, and make sure the head is completely engaged, even in abdominal palpation. See, whatever words that I'm using, they've got great importance. I said the fetal head should be completely engaged, even on abdominal palpation. Why I said that even on abdominal palpation? Because sometimes when the head is completely engaged, even on abdominal palpation means will not be palpable per abdomen. The head will not be palpable per abdomen. That means 0/5 or 0/5, very rarely 1/5 will be palpable per abdomen. Okay, and head will be at just below 0 station vaginally. So head should be completely engaged. If the head is not engaged, do not attempt. Okay, right? Position should be known. How do you define position? Kalyan, fetal position. Can somebody define fetal position? What is denominator?
Bony prominence. Bony prominence.
Arbitrarily chosen bony point of the presenting part, which comes into relationship with different quadrants of the pelvis. Okay, in vertex, what is the denominator? Occiput. So
Occiput.
position is, where is the occiput with regard to maternal pelvis? Is it on the left, right, anterior, posterior? So left occipital anterior, right occipital anterior, left occipital posterior. Those are all positions. So unless you know the position of the fetal head, you cannot attempt a instrumental vaginal delivery. And if there is a cephalo-pelvic disproportion, no, directly go for cesarean delivery. These are some of the contraindications for instrumental vaginal deliveries. Then you have two instruments, right? One is a forceps, other is a ventouse. Here, the next slide here, when I've already told you generalized contraindications for operative vaginal delivery. Now I'm telling you what are the contraindications to ventouse, or in other words, where is a forceps preferred over ventouse? Okay, so when there is an indication, when there is a maternal or a fetal indication to hasten the delivery by using an instrumental vaginal delivery, what are those conditions wherein you prefer forceps rather than ventouse? Okay, one is preterm, okay, less than 36 weeks. For PGs, I would put, there is a slight demarcation there, less than 34 weeks is completely contraindicated. Absolutely, 34 to 36 is a relative contraindication. But for UGs, I can put it as gestation age less than 36 weeks is completely contraindicated. Okay, because of the vacuum or the ventouse, the vacuum that you create, what happens is there is a risk of bleeding, a risk of intraventricular hemorrhages, risk of subgaleal hemorrhages. Okay, so all this could occur. So preterm, do not attempt ventouse. Instead, if there is indication to put an instrumental vaginal, then we go for forceps. Okay, suspected fetal bleeding. Suppose there is some fetal distress, and fetal distress, what happens? They check the fetal pH. Okay, by doing the scalp pH. Okay, so that thing, that where you have done an incision scalp pH, that site is bleeding. They do not put a ventouse. It is going to bleed more. Okay, right? Any contraindication to maternal pushing. See, both for forceps and ventouse. Remember this. Please listen to me. Please listen to me. For both instrumental vaginal deliveries, uterine contractions should be present. Uterine contractions should be present for both. But for forceps, okay, even without the maternal pushing, you can get the baby out using the instrument. But for ventouse, you require, along with contraction, you require some amount of maternal pushing, maternal effort. So whenever there is a contraindication to maternal pushing, okay, like your cardiac disease or the mother or something, and you want to hasten the delivery, you go for forceps rather than ventouse. Okay, assisted delivery under GA, she cannot push, so you go for forceps instead of ventouse. Then phase presentation with mento anterior. See, vertex, you all know. Vertex is a most common presenting part is vertex. Okay, but if the head is completely extended with the occiput of the head touching the back, that would be a phase presentation. Even in phase presentation, there are different positions like mento anterior, mento posterior. So phase presentation with mento anterior, or after coming head of the breech, also you could apply forceps. Okay, but you cannot use ventouse. And if there is a big caput, ventouse, when you apply, it is likely that it would slip off, it would pop off. So again, there you could go for forceps. Okay, roll number 120. Roll number 120, can you please answer? Unmute and answer. Are you there? Roll number 112. Is there anybody by name Priyadarshini? Priyadarshini? Open to. Okay, Sai Chandana, are you there? Navya 118. Monica 103. Can you please unmute? What did I say about contraindications?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your number? Name?
103, ma'am. Sai Monica.
Okay, Monica, what did I tell you about what are those conditions where you prefer forceps over ventouse?
If the gestational age is less than 36 weeks.
Because you're reading this? Okay. Why so?
Because preterm infants, no ma'am. So there will be more chance of bleeding if we apply vacuum for them.
Okay, so trauma. Then
Mm.
what are the other?
Uh, for forceps delivery, we need the mother's efforts for pushing, but uh, for ventus, we need it for mother's efforts for pushing, but for forceps, we don't need. So if there is any contraindication for maternal pushing, then we'll use forceps.
Okay, good.
If
Okay. And what about presentations, Nana? Usual common presenting part would be vertex, right?
in
But
mentro-anterior
for
position, when the face is the presentation, we can't apply ventus. And for after
yes,
coming
or
head of breach.
oh, good. Thank you, Nana. Next week. Okay. Now prerequisites for forceps. See, we said when to do, when not to do. Then what are the conditions to be prerequisites to apply this instrumental vaginal delivery? Okay. For safe operative vaginal delivery requires careful assessment of the clinical situation, clear communication with the mother and the healthcare personnel between both of them, and expertise in the chosen procedure. Operator inexperience is not to be asked for. So there is a mnemonic for this, but it goes by the letters alphabets A, B, C, D, E, F. But I will go with forceps, which is which is much better. Okay, you can remember this better. Okay, what are the prerequisites for instrumental vaginal delivery? One, F, forceps. Okay, F stands for fully dilated and fully effaced cervix. Fully dilated and fully effaced cervix. O. O starts for it. I mean, it denotes 0/5 palpable, 0/5 of the fetal head palpable per abdomen. In other words, what does it tell you? I just told you, Kalyan. Kalyan,
Ma'am,
when the head is not palpable per abdomen. In other words, what does it tell you that the head is?
Engaged, ma'am.
Yes, head is completely engaged. Okay, so either 1/5 or no fifth will be palpable per abdomen. Okay, and in PV vaginal examination, when the head is completely engaged, it is below zero station. Okay, at or below zero station. Okay, R stands for ruptured membranes. C, check for uterine contractions and take consent. Check for uterine contractions and take consent. E, E stands for empty bowel and bladder. Episiotomy when required. Completely engaged head again I put. You have to explain to the patient what you're going to do. Equipment check. Anytime equipment check is very important. Very important. Okay. And suppose there's a little judgmental error which could happen. Okay. You should have, there is what is called trial forceps. Okay, trial forceps is wherein you try to put the instrument in the OT, having everything ready for cesarean delivery also. Okay, the cesarean team is ready. Then but the last attempt is you try to put the forceps. Should it fail, you go for cesarean delivery. Okay, that is what is called trial forceps. Okay, so always you should have an exit plan in those conditions where always it doesn't fail, right? Suppose there is some controversial thing only. Okay, exit plan if it fails. So E stands for empty bowel and bladder, episiotomy when required, engaged head, explanation to the patient, equipment check, exit plan if it fails. P stands for presentation and position. Okay, you cannot have a breech presentation there, right? So you cannot be surprised by what is this presentation, what is this position. So always check the presentation of the fetus and fetal head and position of the fetal head. Station of the presenting part. As I told you, completely engaged head, it is always below zero station. Okay, and S also stands for satisfactory analgesia. So these are all the prerequisites for ventouse and forceps application. Okay, is that clear? Is that
yes,
clear?
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, and in addition to the forceps, I'm telling you two other letters, HR. Okay, head stands for, these are not prerequisites, but these are very important when you apply these instruments. Okay, right? So this is halt in between contractions. That means See, with each contraction, you try to pull pull with your instrument, right? So when the contraction passes off, contraction is not like a continuous process. It is there for 45 seconds, it relaxes, then again it comes for 45 seconds, right? So if you're using the forceps, you apply traction, or you're using ventouse, apply traction only between contractions and halt it in between contractions. And you stop the procedure completely. That is, halt the procedure completely if 3 pop-offs or 3 pulls and it didn't help deliver the baby. Okay, so halt the procedure, stop the procedure with 3 pop-offs or 3 pulls and no delivery occurred. Okay, no descent occurred, no delivery occurred. Please stop it. Please abandon the procedure. Okay, I'll use the word because I wanted a H to be used here. I used H, but the correct word would be, the correct letter would be abandon the procedure. Okay, R is remove the instruments. So when do you remove? Okay, baby's head is coming out. When do you remove the forceps from the baby's head? Remove the instruments when jaws are visible. Remove the instruments when jaws are visible. Okay, now coming to the instruments proper. This is the obstetric forceps. It is a double-bladed metal instrument used for extraction of the fetal head. Okay, you have got 2 blades, the left or the lower blade, the right or the upper blade, depending upon the side of the maternal pelvis to which it is applied. Depending upon the side of maternal pelvis to which it is applied. Okay, and then each has got a blade proper. Then there is a shank which adds length to the instrument. This is a lock. This is a lock, and this is the application handle. This blade proper has got fenestrations. It is a fenestrated blade proper which has got a cephalic curve and a pelvic curve, which I'll show you. This shank, both are parallel. This is in a Wrigley's outlet forceps, both are parallel. And this is an English lock. You have got 2 locks, which I have seen only English lock, where shank of this fits into the socket of the other. See here, nicely, shank of one has fitted into the socket of the other. And this is the application handle. Okay, right. And then sometimes you will not be given this. Okay, sometimes the PGs will be given only one blade and tell you identify right side or left side blade. Okay, I'm not going to tell you this. Okay, and classification. See, classification of forceps is based on what are the conditions that are satisfied. Depending upon the conditions that satisfied, you have divided them into outlet, low, mid, and high forceps. High forceps is excluded, not there. What we do day in and day out are outlet forceps application, and sometimes low forceps, sometimes low forceps. Mid forceps, I haven't done, I haven't seen. Okay, so what are the conditions when you apply outlet forceps? What are the conditions that should satisfy when you say that, okay, I'm now going to apply outlet forceps? Fetal scalp should be visible without separating the labia. Fetal scalp should be visible without separating the labia. Fetal skull, the bony skull, not the caput, should reach the pelvic floor. Sagittal suture should be in the AP diameter, or sagittal suture should be in the AP diameter or a little less than 45 degrees. That means what are we looking at? Rotation. What are in the mechanism of labor? What are the components of mechanism of labor? Tell me. Engagement, descent, flexion. What are the other things? Rotation.
Internal rotation.
Restitution.
Which under the symphysis pubis? Yes or no? That is when sagittal suture will come into midline AP plane. So it should come like this, or sometimes even you can apply it is very good if it comes in the AP plane. Okay, or a little short by 45 degrees is also fine. So that is what is outlet forces, which we do. That is what is outlet forces. Okay, when the station is little above, you call it low forceps. When the head should be completely engaged. Okay, further a little above, it is the mid forceps. Okay, and the rotation is not complete, and it is little more than 45 degrees. You go for low and mid forceps. Okay, right? So that is what it is. Know the conditions that high forceps is no longer being used. What are the conditions that say that now outlet forceps can be applied? Okay, if you remember those two, well and good. Okay, what are the type of? I mean, these are those words which I have already told you. The elective forceps is for maternal indicated forceps or elective forceps to cut short the second stage of labor. Prophylactic forceps is whenever there is a fear of damage that could be done to the baby's head with rigid perineum, it is what is called application of forceps is called prophylactic forceps. It is given in your model year. Trial forceps is application of forceps in the OT, anticipating vaginal delivery but keeping the table ready for cesarean delivery. Okay. Prerequisites, as I already told you. Okay. I already told you this. Then forceps application, you have two types of application. See, you have two types of application. One is called cephalic application, the other one is called pelvic application. Pelvic application means you do not know all those conditions. See, we have already checked for low forceps, sagittal sutures should be in the AP plane. See, here, can you see this? This is the sagittal suture, right? And this occiput has completely rotated. It has come underneath the symphysis pubis, right? So actually, without looking at all this, if you apply a forceps, just to the side of the pelvis, left side of the pelvis, right side of the pelvis, that is pelvic application, which is not to be done. You always do a cephalic application. You always do a cephalic application. See, you always, the left blade or the lower blade is applied first. Okay, left blade or the lower blade is applied first. Okay, under the guidance of left blade. Oh my God. Okay, this is a, see, look at the first picture. Okay, left blade is being applied first, held in the left hand, using the guiding fingers of the glove, right hand, two fingers of the right hand. Okay, you introduce into the posterior and left aspect of the pelvis into the vagina, and you guide it slowly to the lateral aspect. So it becomes a biparietal application. This goes to the left, and the next picture shows you the right blade application. See, this is the right blade application. See, always dictum is do not force the blades into position. Dictum is do not force the blades into position. Do not force lock the blades. Do not force lock the blades. Do not forcefully position them. Okay, they should be easily locking. And it is always a biparietal application along the occipito-mental plane. So the blades come like this. So in between the fenestra, what occurs? The earlobes of the fetus occur. Okay, earlobes of the fetus stay. See, the blades come here. So it is a biparietal application along the occipito-mental plane. So these words should be remembered. Okay, so how do you check whether the forceps application is right or not? Sagittal suture should be perpendicular to the shank. See, this is a sagittal suture. When you apply this is a shank, and it should be perpendicular to it. Posterior fontanelle is equidistant from both the plates. And fenestra, in between the fenestra, you get the fetal ears. Fenestra are not palpable beneath the fetal head. So these are the Denham's 3 check of forceps application before you apply traction. So before application of the traction, you have to make sure your application is right and don't force. See, this is how it is. Okay. See, it is a biparietal application. Sagittal suture is perpendicular to the shank. Okay. The fenestra is no longer the fenestra, there is no gap. Okay. The ear should come a little below. Okay. So that is how it is. And how do you, okay, when you apply forceps, okay, when it is an outlet forceps, you just have to elevate it. So what is the movement that is promoted by outlet forceps? It is just the last movement in the mechanism of labor, that is extension of the fetal head. Last movement, that is extension of the fetal head, is brought about by your forceps in outlet forceps. But with low forceps and mid forceps I haven't seen. Low forceps, you need to apply traction and delivery. Okay, the traction should be in the axis of the pelvic canal, downwards and backwards, then upwards and forwards. Okay, so that is how the direction of the axis of the pelvic canal. In the same way, you apply traction. But when you are applying outlet forceps, you are promoting only extension of the fetal head. Magnitude of pull, primary 18 kgs, multi 13 kgs, but the pull should come from the wrist. Okay. When I was doing my MBBS, okay, people used to tell, one would hold the person who is applying forceps and then pull it strong. No, that is not it. That is not it. The technique is important. Just the force should come from the wrist. Okay, I'm holding the forceps, somebody is holding my hand, somebody holding me, and we all three together pull. No, no, it is we are going to traumatize, resulting in maternal morbidity and fetal morbidity. Okay, no, the pull should come from the wrist. Okay, when do you say it is a failed forceps? Delivery is not imminent following 3 pulls and no progressive descent with each pull. Abandon the procedure. Okay, now coming to ventouse. Now coming to ventouse. See, these are the cups. These were the initial metal cups which had come in. Okay, then came Celastic cups. Now a hand applicator Omni Kiwi cups have come. Okay, we are using in our labor rooms the Celastic cups. Okay, you create up negative pressure. So you have a cup. What are the instruments that are included here? You have a cup with a diameter of 3, 4, 5 or 6 centimeters, and you have a rubber tube attaching the cup to a glass bottle with a screw in between to release the negative pressure, to cause the negative pressure, and the negative pressure should not exceed 0.8 kg per centimeter square. Okay, so these are the cups. Initially metal cups have come, then the Celastic cups have come. Now we have got the Omni Kiwi cups, even they are hand operated cups. Okay. Okay. Rules of application. Here I'll tell you. See, okay. There is what is called a flexion point in here. Here I have to tell you something. Rules of delivery. Delivery should be completed within 15 minutes of application of ventouse. See, delivery should be completed. See, these are very important points. When you start reading your book, you do not know where you have to stress it, where you have to stress. Please try to listen. Okay, this is in a nutshell. We're trying to tell you what are the important points, so that when you read, you can catch that point and you can underline it. Okay, with ventouse application, delivery should be completed in 15 minutes, and it is not head. It is not just a scalp. Okay, ventouse, when you're creating vacuum, okay, it will create an artificial chignon, artificial something like a cap. So head and not just the scalp should descend with each pull, and cup should be applied no more than twice. 3 pop-offs, abandon the procedure. With failure of ventouse, despite good traction, do not try forceps as well. That means no use of sequential instruments. No use of sequential instruments. One after the other, you cannot use. You cannot use ventouse. Okay, I have to abandon this procedure because it is cup pop-off. Don't go for forceps. Okay, do not do that. Okay, in between contractions, okay, you apply the instruments in between the contractions. What here, the application, where do you apply? There is what is called a flexion point. There is what is called a flexion point. Okay, there is what is called posterior fontanelle, right? Posterior fontanelle, okay, and there's a sagittal suture. Yes, so the rear end of the cup should be at the posterior fontanelle. The rear end of the cup should be at the posterior fontanelle, so that in just 3 centimeters before that is what is called a flexion point. So center of the cup should coincide with the flexion point. Center of the cup should be at the flexion point. The rear end is just at the posterior fontanelle. Okay, and the leading edge of the cup to the anterior fontanelle, there is a distance of 3 centimeters. Why is this flexion point very important? Because when rightly placed this cup at the flexion point, as I told you, the center of the cup should be at the flexion point. It promotes flexion of the fetal head. It promotes flexion of the fetal head. Okay, smaller diameters will come out of the outlet. Smaller fetal diameters will come out of the fetal outlet. Outlet of the pelvis. Okay, it avoids cup detachment. It avoids cup detachment. So it is very important where you place the cup. Okay, applying the Malmstrom cup. And this is the traction. When you're applying the traction, it should be perpendicular to the cup. Otherwise, you apply longitudinal, obliquely this side and that side, it will pop off. Okay. Vacuum, RCOG audit standard says that vacuum is the first choice for the instrument for instrumental vaginal delivery. Okay, this is with regard to UK. Okay, what are the advantages of ventouse? And okay, I have a video which I'll show you. See, whenever I go back to the ventouse, I thought I have those, but I'll go back. See, when you always do this, okay, when you apply this cup and you create the vacuum, the negative pressure, it is created at 0.2 kg per centimeter square, increase every 2 minutes to a maximum of 0.8 kg per centimeter square. Well, you have a newer gadgets to create the ventos which occur very rapidly and up to between 450 to 600 millimeters mercury. Okay, you have newer gadgets also. So, and you apply traction perpendicular to the cup, but before you apply that, you have to make sure no maternal tissue is involved here. No maternal tissue is caught in the cup. That you have to make sure. Make sure no maternal tissue is caught in the cup. Okay. Then two is you always put your one finger on the cup and one finger on the fetal scalp anteriorly, so that you will recognize the cup detachment if it occurs. Okay, I'll show you some of the videos about this forceps and this before I tell you about the advantages of ventos and forceps over each other. Okay, right? Nana, videos to which one? Hmm. Sound, right? Mhm. See, always instrument check is important. See, I told you, abdomen less than 1/5 palpum, that means head should be completely engaged, fully dilated cervix, membrane structure, vertex presentation, know the position, Explain to the mother, analgesia, empty bladder, okay. Then trained operator with skills. Always you have to lock the blades before using. You have to put it on your delivery table, the right and the left, lock it and keep it so that you know which is the left, which is the right. Okay, you have to always check before you apply. This is a cephalic curve, which grips the head is a cephalic curve. And this is a pelvic curve, which suits the pelvic curve of the pelvis, the passage. Forget about this. This is Thielens, which is different, which I'm not going to tell you. See, with the right hand, right fingers, always the left or the lower blade first, left lower blade first, using your right two fingers to guide with the thumb. Don't force it. The next comes the right blade. Now you lock it, the English lock, the right blade, the shank will sit into the socket of the left blade. And only you apply traction with your wrist. That also only during contractions. Okay. In between contractions, halt. Nana, forward, Shema. Forward. No, this is not the way we do it. Forward. Episiotomy is being given now. See, the direction, the forceps direction has been changed. Now, just it is extension. And remove the instrument when jaws are visible. Okay, I'll show you the ventos also. Give me a couple of minutes.
Part 3. Technique.
Thanks. See, everywhere they tell check presentation and position. This is Vento's application. I told you for Vento's application, you should
When
know.
using a soft silicone cup like this cup, squeeze the sides of the cup together to reduce its size before advancing towards the fetal head. Using a suitable obstetric antiseptic cream. Position the cup on the flexion point.
Flexion point is important here.
An effort should be made to place the cup approximately 3 centimeters in front of the posterior fontanelle. Gently palpate around the rim of the cup to check that no parts of the cervix or vagina are covered by the
Make
cup.
sure no maternal tissues gets entrapped in the cup.
Start the pump using the foot pedal. And set a light preliminary vacuum of approximately -20 kilopascal, -150 millimeter of mercury. Palpate again around the rim of the cup to double check that no soft tissues have been trapped beneath it. With the onset of the contraction, 60 to -80 kilopascal. That is -450 to -600 millimeter of mercury. The vacuum should be increased rapidly and in one step. A gradual increase is not recommended. Adhesion will be satisfactory as soon as the necessary vacuum is reached. Important. Never exceed a vacuum of -80 kilopascal, the equivalent of -600 millimeter of mercury. Apply traction in time with the patient's contractions.
And with the
Hold the
pushing.
cup with one hand and assist the baby's forward movements by maintaining steady traction. During traction, place the index finger of your free hand at the junction of the cup edge and the fetal head. You will be able to feel if the cup is holding firmly, and also check that the entire subcutaneum is responding to the traction. With each successive contraction, draw the infant's head gently over the perineum. If the fetal head does not follow when traction is applied, check that the traction is parallel to the birth canal. The mother can normally bear down 2 to 3 times during a contraction. Traction should be applied throughout this period. At the end of a contraction, reduce or stop traction appropriately. Sometimes it may be helpful to apply gentle traction between contractions, just to prevent the head from sliding back. This can help dilate the soft tissues. Never exceed 10 minutes of cumulative traction time. Possible difficulties. If the cup separates from the fetal scalp, it may be due to the wrong technique being used. Should this occur, check for trauma to the fetus scalp before reapplying the cup. Avoid sudden jerks. Apply an appropriate steady and constant traction. During steady traction, if the adhesive force is about to be broken, air will be sucked under the cup, causing it to emit an audible warning hiss. If this happens, traction should then be discontinued, ear firmly again. Correct the direction of traction and resume when the patient's next contraction begins. Episiotomy. The need for episiotomy must be considered in each individual case. The obstetrical instrument does not require routine episiotomy. In certain cases of severe fetal distress, however, episiotomy may facilitate more rapid delivery. Delivery. Delivery effect can normally be achieved in 3 tractions with a maximum of 15 to 20 minutes. Once the head has been delivered, reduce the vacuum to 0. Switch off the vacuum pump and remove the cup. The shoulders and trunk are delivered in the same way as in spontaneous delivery. Post-delivery. Document the use of a suction cup. Nursery staff as per hospital protocol. These recommendations are intended only as general guidelines. Practitioners must refer to current institutional and medically recognized guidelines that address suction cup.
Okay, now coming back to the slides. I hope you are clear about it. Whatever I've told you, the same has been shown. Okay, you should remember certain things. Okay, vacuum flexion point, not more than 15 minutes, not more than 3 pop-ups, and usually the bony part should move with each pull, not just the scalp should go on increasing, not the chignon should go on increasing. Okay, now coming back to a few last slides. Okay, advantages of ventouse over forceps. Easier to learn. Ventouse is easier to learn. Less maternal trauma. Less anesthesia is required. No overall increase in the size of intravaginal contents. Forceps have to grip the head. Well, ventouse is like sitting here on the head, right? So the intravaginal contents don't increase. Rotation and descent are not forced. Automatically it takes place. The rotation takes place here. Okay, and it can be used with local anesthesia or with no anesthesia. The vacuum. While for forceps, for outlet, yes, just perineal infiltration of the local will do. But if you're going for a low forceps, you will have to give pudendal block anesthesia, which is not required for vacuum. Okay, vacuum can be used for rotation and extraction by single application, less traumatic to mother. And less compression and traction force, does not require additional space between the tight fitting head and the pelvis. No special skill is required. Actually, this application of the vacuum is easier to learn. The learning curve is very less. Okay, and then advantages of forceps over vacuum. Forceps can be used for preterm, where vacuum cannot be used. When there is a prior scalpel sampling was done and it is bleeding, cannot use vacuum. Phase presentation, cannot use. Fetal distress, you want to deliver very fast, you cannot wait for those 15 minutes, go for forceps. For after coming head of the breech, go for forceps. Okay, advantages of forceps further continues. Higher rate of successful vaginal delivery, fewer neonatal injuries, maternal effort not absolutely necessary. Okay, while maternal effort is necessary with regard to vacuum, it may be used as cesarean section. These days we are using even forceps as cesarean section. May be used for after coming head of the breech, may be used for face and with mento anterior. Okay, and do not use sequentially, one instrument after the other. Avoid it. Okay, vacuum and forceps delivery can be associated with significant complications, both maternal and fetal, if the technique is not proper. Risk of complications are increased significantly among babies exposed to attempts at both vacuum and forceps. So no sequential use. Complications and dangers of operative vaginal delivery are mostly due to faulty technique rather than the instrument. Okay, what are the maternal complications? Extension, the injury, extension of the episiotomy involving the anus, rectum, or vaginal wall. vaginal lacerations and cervical tear, so maternal soft tissue tears would be more. Then it could result in postpartum hemorrhage, traumatic postpartum hemorrhage, and this could lead to shock. Okay, sepsis due to improper aseptic precautions which would be taken, which is not seen these days. Okay, hazards of anesthesia. There's so much of improvement in anesthesia. Okay, delayed or long-term sequelae, chronic low backache, genital prolapse, stress incontinence, very rare. Okay, fetal complications, asphyxia, trauma, and remote cerebral palsy, fetal death around 2%, which you will have to try to avoid by intervening at the right time and with the right technique. Conclusion. Considering all aspects, operative delivery has still got a place in modern obstetric practice and should be considered in certain cases. It should not be a forgotten art. It should never be a forgotten art. It has a place in modern obstetrics and you will have to master it. Those of you who want to become a gynecologist. Okay, if performed judicially by proper selection of cases and with, you should know when to do it, when not to do it, and what are the prerequisites, and with the correct application, okay, with the correct mastering the technique, you could reduce the unnecessary complications. Vacuum and forceps delivery can be associated with significant complications, both maternal and fetal, but mostly due to faulty technique. And according to RC Virtue, that is the UK, vacuum is the first choice of instrumental vaginal delivery. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, are there any questions? Do you have any questions to ask? Anybody? Kalyan, are you there still? Divya?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Bye. Stay
Thank you,
safe,
ma'am.
Nana.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.